All right. Spell Pierce. Gotcha. All right. Greetings, everyone. I am glad to be here, and I am glad that you are here. Today's jank? Nah, I don't think so. I don't think this is jank, ladies and gentlemen. Today's very strong deck is in Historic, and we are talking, of course, about probably the best budget deck in the format for if you are skilled enough and accustomed enough to have played it a lot. It is very, very, very strong. I'm, of course, talking about budget mono blue. We have gone through a couple of different budget decks already. We've done budget Cavalcade for, mono red, and budget flyers. That's blue-white flyers for people who like aggressive decks. We've done budget gates for folks that like more like combo-y style, mid-rangey stuff. And now, folks, we are going to do budget mono blue for the more controlling style players. Admittedly, this is actually a tempo deck more than it's a control deck, but it feels more controlling. And traditionally speaking, control decks lean on very, very large, powerful, individually difficult to deal with threats, and most of the time those are rares and mythics, right? So it's pretty hard to get an actual control deck in the budget, but this comes pretty close. So I'm trying to make sure that no matter what kind of player you are, there is a budget deck for you, and that's going to be harder that's going to be harder for certain players than others. But here's my attempt at a control deck for you folks. What, of course, are we looking at? The biggest thing, the reason that it's actually a tempo deck rather than a control deck, is you are trying to tempo your opponent out, drawing lots of cards with Curiosities and Curious Obsession and a lot of really, really small creatures. So Mist-Cloaked Heralds, Siren Stormtamers, and Spectral Sailors all can come down on turn 1 and then hopefully be equipped on turn 2 with Curious Obsession or Curiosity and swinging in to start drawing extra cards. And folks, you just end up drawing so many cards, you can really bury your opponent in card advantage. Well, but John, didn't you just say it was controlling, even if it's not a control deck? Yes, I did. Because look at this, folks. Okay, this is your creature suite over here. I guess we can do that. 4 Brineborn Cutthroats. Whenever you cast a spell during your opponent's turn, put a 1/1 counter on it, but it has flash. Spectral Sailor also has flash, but lets you draw a card if you pay 4 mana. Siren Stormtamer is a counter spell all on its own. Counter target spell or ability that targets you or a creature you control if you sacrifice it and pay a blue. And then this just can't be blocked. So this carries Curiosities and Curious Obsessions very well. But here's our Disruption suite, folks. 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Jwari Disruption, or I'm sorry, 4 Jwari Disruption. An earlier version only had 2. 4 Lofty Denial, 4 Essence Capture, and 4 Lookouts Dispersal. You are looking to counter anything and everything. If they resolve things, good for them. There's no interacting with it. It's on here for good. Hopefully we can race. That's why we're tempo, we're not really control. But again, if you are good enough with, particularly the most important decision in any game of Magic, honestly, is almost always your mulligan decision. And this deck is so much more important. This deck mulligans pretty well normally, because these Curious Obsessions and Curiosities on a 1-drop means even if you mulligan down to 5, or heck, I've seen people win on a mulligan to 4 with this deck, just because they draw so many extra cards with the Curious Obsession Curiosity package that they just end up drawing right back into the things that they need. You will note, we are only in an 18 land deck, and that's because we have 4 Jwari Disruption. But there are actually versions of this deck that run 18 lands with like 4 Jwari Disruption, and it's like this. Those are really finely tuned, and I don't know. I'm not quite brave enough for that. So your mileage may vary. We did, when I was building the deck, I did look at some different options that way. I was trying to consider maybe dropping some of our 2-drops and going even more heavy on the 1-drops, but didn't end up going that direction. So this is where we're at. These are, of course, 18. And then the 4 Jwari Disruption. But you'll note, actual 0 mythics and rares. In a couple of our past videos, I allowed ourselves like 4 or so in the main. Not so in this deck. This is very, very strong on 0 mythics and rares in the main. And you'll see, you know, I'm going to take it into ranked. I think if it's on, if you're on this actual version that I built, you may want to, I'm going to go get my lands back, darn it. I did not mean to do that. You may want to not take this into ranked, because you are going to struggle a little bit against some of the meta decks if they resolve things or whatever. It's also going to take you a little bit of time to get the hang of the deck. This is a pretty skill-intensive deck, and even if you're a pretty skilled player, just getting the ins and outs of this deck down, you know, when can I keep a one-lander? I've seen people keep one-landers, and this deck just crushed with it. That sort of thing. So definitely worth considering. That said, let's take it out for a spin and see how I can do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are up against Chaos Weaver. Good luck, Chaos Weaver. We will hang on to this one. Opponent on the play. This deck really likes to be on the play, and we are unfortunately not. I am just going to go ahead and get down a Mist-Cloaked Herald right now. Not going to fool around with it. Just going to get it down. We don't have any ways of counterspelling any of their stuff, so it is what it is. But this way, I was going to say we have 2 different flash threats. Now we have 3 different flash threats that can all come in on their end of turn while we hold up counter magic, right? So whether we fire off Lofty Denial or Jwari Disruption or whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay. Yeah. We're just gonna hang on here. All right. Yeah. Unfortunate. All right, gonna Siren Stormtamer here. Give ourselves the ability to counter a Witch's Oven activation. Well, when the Mayhem Devil goes to target our stuff, as it is. Fine. Okay. We're just going to go ahead and get in with everybody. Spell Pierce. And Chaos Weaver scoops it up. Yeah, folks, not going to lie, I feel like I definitely made a piloting error there, and it didn't even end up mattering. So, deck strong. What can I say? All right. This is not a great hand, but on the play, this is where the deck wants to be. Opponent goes with Leyline of Sanctity. I assume that means they're on the Pillow Fort deck. So let's just hold on. So there will be 9 lives and Solemnities, I would expect. Opponent goes bottom. All right. Spectral Sailor, come on in. Jwari Disruption, actually not a bad card here, folks. We are going to leave open the opportunity to cast Jwari Disruption. Yeah, that is one that we will counter. That one right there. And we need to draw into counter magic right now, folks. Please, counter magic. Look out, Dispersal. Curiosity. Alright, well, we're going to Siren Stormtamer to at least protect our Spectral Sailor from removal and stuff. This is leaving the door open for our opponent to slam something really nasty, but I don't care. I would much rather... Okay, that's actually not as bad as I was worried about. Alright. Sure. That is why we decided to do this. We want to protect our card advantage. Alright, well. Curiosity. Get in, draw 2 cards. Yep. Please, counter magic and counter magic. No, but counter magic? Alright, well. That is actually counter magic, so you can only complain so much. When you get what you ask for, you know? Opponent going to pump? They are. Alright, well. That is not great. Lost enough life to meet the requisite counter. Alright. We will draw the cards. Thank you very much. Yes. Alright, well. How about a Siren Stormtamer, opponent? We will absolutely chump with our Siren Stormtamer. We will not chump now. Because they can't pump the Knight of the Ebon Legion. Yeah, I'm actually not going to draw the card right now, because that will mean we don't have any counter magic up to protect our Spectral Sailor. Yep. Alright, draw the card, draw the card. Well, then yeah, let's just get down a Siren Stormtamer number 2. Opponent going to pay some life and draw a card. Heavens to Murgatroyd. They are brave, brave folks over there. I can approve of that kind of bravery. Yeah. That I was gonna say, that's not going to do it. They were conceding because they just knew we had the counter. As it turns out, we did. But that wasn't going to get them there. So GG, opponent, GG. It was an honor. Alright, folks. Here we are up against Finrod. Good luck, Finrod. I think we are going to hang on to this one. And just going to lead on a Siren Stormtamer and pass the turn. Oh boy, our opponent goes with Ketria Triome tapped. So I think that means, folks, we're just going to go for it. This probably means they've got, they're an energy deck. And we need to make sure we have counter spells and things available later on. So we need to go right now hard to make sure to not allow Aetherworks Marvel to resolve. Yeah, alright. Siren Stormtamer getting in, drawing another card. Sure enough, it's a Spectral Sailor. Believe it or not, that's a great draw here. If our opponent doesn't do anything, we just get to Brineborn Cutthroat and Spectral Sailor. Actually, yeah, that's just fine as well. Opponent gonna get some energy, and we're not, I wouldn't say we're thrilled about that, but we would much rather do these things. Because we have a lot of counter magic coming up. And the Brineborn Cutthroat going to be quite large. here shortly. Opponent on 5 energy. Shocks in the steam vents. Goes for Woodweaver Puzzle Knot. Yep. That's okay. That one, less okay. So we're going to put the counter over here on Spectral Sailor. Going to grow up our Brineborn Cutthroat as well. It's not that we were that scared of another Sage, but just that we could grow our clock by quite a bit via countering that spell. So I think this is definitely where we want to be. The Sage chump blocks. We drop our opponent's life down to 10. Get to draw another card. It's another Lofty to now. This seems a little silly, but since we didn't draw another land, we're only going to be able to cast one spell next turn anyway, so I think I would rather just cast the Curiosity. Yes, we could have done that pre-combat, but we were hoping to draw a land, and then we would be able to hold up 2 separate counterspells, which would be very nice. Another Puzzle Knot. No, you can have that. Yep. Opponent up to 13 life, and another Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. You know what? Just to, make sure our clock stays robust and to pump our Brineborn Cutthroat, we are going to counter this right now. Oh, okay. I was going to say, we are very likely to hit our land drop next turn because we're drawing 3 cards. So being able to counterspell twice next turn, very important. There isn't much we're going to care about, honestly, other than the Aetherworks Marvel itself, right? Deals 2 damage to a target player or planeswalker. No, we don't care about that at all. All right. And combat. I'm going to try and harness lightning. We are going to say no, and that is going to wrap it up, folks. Well, okay, almost wrap it up. We're going to take 2 damage first. Fair enough, opponent, fair enough. Good game, Finrod, good game. All right, folks, here we are, up against Geo-Guy Dreckle. Good luck, Geo-Guy Dreckle. Yeah, we're gonna keep this. I think this is pretty good. No flyers. So future oh crud. This is mono brown. E-I-E-I-O. Oh my goodness. Future Lofty Denials. Less good. But I think we are just going to Curiosity since we have Spell Pierce up, and we need to get to our other counter magic. We need to get to our land drops. We have lots and lots of needs, folks. Unfortunately, this Blast Zone, all by itself, stands to be really strong against us. All our opponent needs to do is make land drops, right? All right. Spell Pierce. Gotcha. All right. And Geo-Guy Dreckle says, no, we don't want any part of that. Folks, that's a little bit of a premature scoop. I'm not going to lie, but I understand. I really do. As it turns out. All right, folks, we are back. Looking at the deck. And how'd the deck do, first of all? It did pretty well. I think I either went even or I might have lost one more than I won. I'm not sure. That said, I did keep a one-lander and get punished for it. You know, stuff happens. But I also did record an extra win that you folks won't see because I wasn't actually recording when I recorded. So I actually got an extra win that I did not expect to get. Or I mean, that you didn't get to see because I wasn't actually recording. Feels bad. But that said, the deck did really, really good. I can't complain at all with the way the deck performed. I think it performed not just up to expectation, but even maybe a little bit beyond. I was worried with the actual 0 rares and mythics plan on this one, because I have seen mono blue on the ladder here and there, and I believe we even had a mirror match. Yeah, we did have a mirror match this time, and as a matter of fact, we lost because they had a Brazen Borrower. And that was the mirror break. Well, and in fairness, they were also on the play, and being on the play with this deck is so important, but being on the play in the mirror is paramount. Absolute paramount. But I think we actually come back and win if they hadn't had the Brazen Borrower, or maybe if we had. So yes, one of the cards that we would highly recommend, should you decide to begin to build this and then begin an upgrade path on it, would be Brazen Borrower. This card is very strong. It gives us ways of interacting. You'll note, remember, I was talking about it in the main. If you foolishly counterspell something here and then you don't have mana to counterspell the next thing, whatever they resolved is there. It's there, right? You can't handle anything. But these return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. It gives you a way to bounce things right back, but also is a 3/1 flying flash. Darn it. A 3/1 flying will end the game relatively quickly. And since it's another flash threat, we can hold up counter magic until the end of their turn, and then they don't do anything. Boom. In comes the Brazen Borrower. And suddenly they need to react. It is a very, very strong magic card. And yeah, I mean, I would even include them in this current list if you've got just 1 or 2 hanging out in your collection right now. You do not want to go too high on the average converted mana cost while we're only running like 18 lands, but since we're running 18 lands and the Jwari Disruptions, we're technically on 22, I think I would still be running even up to 4 in this current list. I'm not sure where I would cut. That's a different discussion, but yeah, so that the absolute first recommendation I would make. The next one is Sea-Dasher Octopus. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Folks, that text might seem familiar. Curious Obsession and Curiosity both do this thing. Now, I have seen people running as many as 4 and 4 and 4 of Sea-Dasher Octopus. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but I am certain that if I was building the correct version of this for me, I would have 4 Sea-Dasher Octopus and some number of these other ones. Maybe like 2 Curiosity, 4 and 4 or something. But this is a very strong magic card, ladies and gentlemen, and does what you want these to do. But one of the problems with Curiosity and Curious Obsession is they're only at sorcery speed. You can only cast these on your turn. So you can't leave up counter magic. And as we have demonstrated, darn it, you need counter magic for their important threats because you have a difficult time dealing with resolved permanents. So the fact that you can hold up counter magic, you're trying to play around your counter magic, are you? And then just flash this in at the end of the turn, even mutate this in on the end of the turn. Very, very strong indeed. Very strong indeed. And definitely very, very good. As a matter of fact, if Brazen Borrower and Sea-Dasher Octopus were both the same rarity and competing for wildcard slots, I would say craft this one first. I really do think it's that good. I really do. Since this is a mythic and this is a rare, that is not a concern. So these two are cards you want to be getting into this deck as soon as possible. Okay? So, beyond that, the rest of these are all just different ways of going about building the same deck. Did I not get Merfolk Trickster in there? Alright, I did not. Please forgive me, folks. That was supposed to be in there. One of the more frequent ways, folks, is to try and stack some more wizards. So there's like Wizard's Retort, where if you control a wizard, it costs less. It costs just blue then. So if you've got 4 Merfolk Tricksters and like 4 Siren Stormtamers, it's not outside the realm of possibilities. You just have a wizard to make this cheaper, right? So Wizard Retort, if you can deck it, very, very strong. So worth considering. And this just has flash. So again, you can hold up counter magic and cast this in at the end of the turn or something like that. You can do combat tricks with it because it does make the opponent's creature lose all abilities and stuff like that, right? So entirely reasonable things to be doing. But another one you can do is Tempest Djinn. 3 mana, 0/4 flying. But Tempest Djinn gets 1/0 for each basic island you control. So we're running lots of basics. This will readily be a 3/4 most of the time when you cast it, but can grow up to a 5/4, a 6/4, something like that, and flying. So we'll end the game pretty quickly when you're ready to finish it. Rewind, counterspell, untap lands. I don't like this very much because it makes you have 4 lands to begin with. So personally, this is not a direction I would go. I have seen others go that way, and, you know, I'm not going to pretend to be the end-all, be-all of deck building, so by all means. That said, Syncopate. This one is a card we almost made in this list and didn't end up going that way because we have such a low land count. So if we went maybe a little more mid-rangey, so let's say you get to your Brazen Borrowers, you get to your Tempest Djinns, and you're thinking, yeah, let's try slowing things down just a little bit and all that. Well, Syncopate might be better then. Supreme Will gives you a counterspell, but also the ability to kind of anticipate sort of thing. Disallow, just a better counter target spell than, like, let's say Cancel. Quench, very reasonable counterspell in this build. Unconditionally counter target spell unless they pay 2. Whereas these ones are both conditional, like Lofty Denial and Lookout's Dispersal get more expensive in Lookout Dispersal's case, or this one is a 4 spike unless you control a creature with flying. So reasonable, particularly if you've already got them, entirely fine. Disdainful Stroke, particularly if you are trying to do best of 3, this one should be in your side. But even possibly in the main, if you are going with a more mid-rangey build. Cerulean Drake, just protection from red, so this should be in your side at the very least. But fine in the main, even. Censor, a 4 spike effect, but allows you to cycle. So some people prefer this in their main to, like, let's say, Jwari Disruptions. This is a land, whereas this can be anything else, right? So if the 4 spike becomes less good, here you just make another land drop and that stinks. But this, you just cycle it away and there you go. You know, you draw a brand new card. The issue for me was we were already cheating on lands a little bit, and since we're only on uncommons and stuff, it's much better to be able to cast your spells than have nothing. That said, I would also be chagrined if I didn't mention Dive Down. This is a great magic card that helps defend your Curiosity, Curious Obsession style creatures, right? And it just says, until the end of turn, your creature gains 3 or 0/3 and hexproof, so it also allows you to block sometimes, and this deck does not block well. But worth mentioning. So, all that being said, it's been great, folks, and I really had a good time playing the deck, and I do highly recommend it. That said, if you have other things you would want to mention about it, put them down in the comments below. Different ways you might consider building this deck. Also interesting to me, so please let me know. I do have a Twitch channel, so stop on out down to the Twitch, twitch.tv/johnlikesgames. We'll get you to my Twitch channel, and we can talk about playing this deck there. So I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you next time.